Have you ever thought you knew someone so completely that nothing they did could ever surprise you? That was me with my best friend Daniel. Until one night, his simple invitation changed everything I thought I knew about us. For as long as I can remember, Daniel had been part of my story. We met in seventh grade, two awkward kids thrown together for a group project. He was bold and funny, the kind of person who spoke up even when he didn't know the answer. I was quieter, more comfortable staying in the background. But somehow we clicked. He'd say something ridiculous, I'd roll my eyes, and we'd both end up laughing. That spark grew into a friendship that carried us through high school, into college and beyond. Daniel wasn't just my best friend. He was my anchor, the person I could call at 2 in the morning when anxiety kept me up. The guy who stood out in the freezing rain just to help me change a flat tire. He knew every part of my story, the family drama, the embarrassing moments, the sides of me no one else ever saw. And I thought I knew him just as deeply. Until that night. It was a crisp Friday evening in early October. Work had drained me all week, and all I wanted was a quiet night with takeout and a mindless show. I just sunk into the couch when my phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "Hey, you free tonight? Come over, I need to talk." At first, I didn't think much of it. We hung out all the time. But something about that message felt different. It was short, almost serious. No emojis, no inside jokes. Daniel's texts usually sounded like him, dramatic caps, too many exclamation marks, a little chaos. This one didn't. I frowned and typed back. "Me, yeah, I'm free. Is everything okay?" No reply. Minutes passed. I kept staring at my screen, waiting for those three little dots to appear. Finally, another buzz. "Yeah, just come over. Bring your favorite chips." That felt more like him, but still, something was off. I grabbed a bag of sour cream and onion chips, our childhood go-to, and drove to his apartment. The drive was short, but every red light gave me more time to think. Did he lose his job? Was something wrong with his family? Or was this about us? That last thought slipped in before I could stop it. I shook my head, no. Daniel and I were just friends, always had been, right? When I pulled into his building's lot, I noticed the warm glow from his window, dim, almost deliberate. Climbing the stairs, chips tucked under my arm, I realized my heartbeat was faster than usual. When he opened the door, Daniel stood there barefoot, in sweatpants and a plain black t-shirt. His hair was a little messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. "Hey," he said, stepping aside. "Hey," I echoed, forcing a smile. The air felt different, not bad, just heavier, like the room itself was holding its breath. Inside, the place smelled faintly of vanilla candles and clean laundry. The TV glowed quietly with a paused Netflix menu. We settled onto the couch, the chips between us, the same setup we'd had 100 times before. At first it was easy, familiar. I teased him about his hair. He mocked me for still mispronouncing gyro. We laughed, and for a moment, everything felt normal again. But then the silences started. Longer this time. I caught him glancing at me, then looking away. His fingers drummed against the armrest. Something was building, waiting to be said. Finally, Daniel cleared his throat. "So, I didn't just invite you over to hang out." I froze, chip halfway to my mouth. "Yeah," I said lightly, "I kind of figured." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. His voice was quieter than usual, almost uncertain. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you for a while." My pulse quickened. "Okay." He rubbed his palms together, like he was gathering courage. This wasn't the Daniel I knew, not the fearless guy who joked through everything, or sang karaoke without hesitation. This was someone stripped bare. Finally, he looked up, really looked. His eyes, deep brown and steady but unsure, locked on mine. And the whole room seemed to shrink around us. "I don't know how you'll react," he said softly, "but I can't keep it in anymore." My chest tightened. "Daniel, you're starting to freak me out." He gave a nervous laugh, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. And then he said it. 3 words that changed everything. "I love you." The air went still. My breath caught. My heart stumbled like it had missed a beat. At first, I thought I'd misheard him, but one look at his face told me I hadn't. The tremble in his jaw, the way his hands were clenched together, the raw honesty in his gaze, this wasn't a joke. For a moment, I couldn't move. The world outside, cars, voices, life faded away. It was just him and me. 2 best friends sitting on a couch, with a line between us that had suddenly vanished. He shifted, mistaking my silence. "See," he murmured, his voice tight. "This is why I didn't want to say anything. I knew it would mess things up." "No," I said quickly, words tumbling out. "It's not that. I wasn't expecting this." And it was true. I hadn't expected it. But somewhere deep down, something inside me whispered, maybe I'd been waiting to hear it. Memories flooded in. The night he stayed up with me, when my dad was in the hospital. The way his hand lingered on my shoulder after we'd won a game. The unspoken glances that had always felt like more. Had I missed the signs? Or had I just been too afraid to see them? Last time, Daniel, my best friend since middle school, invited me over with a simple message that carried more weight than I realized. "I need to talk." That night I discovered that sometimes the people we think we know best are the ones who still have the power to change everything. After years of laughter, trust, and shared secrets, he looked me in the eyes and said the words I never expected. "I'm in love with you." In that moment my whole world tilted. Silence wrapped around us like a heavy blanket. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the distant buzz of traffic outside, even the steady pounding of my own heartbeat. Daniel's face was tense, his hands clenched together like he was holding on to something fragile. I wanted to speak, to fill the silence, but the words wouldn't come. Finally, he exhaled shakily. "See," he said, voice trembling, "this is why I didn't tell you. You don't feel the same." "No," I blurted, sharper than I meant. "That's not it." He blinked, surprise flickering in his eyes. I ran a hand through my hair, searching for the right words. I wasn't expecting this. You're my best friend, Daniel. You've always been my best friend." His jaw tightened, but he nodded slowly. "I know, maybe I should have kept it that way, but I can't pretend anymore." I'd seen Daniel in every possible mood, angry, goofy, confident, bored, but rarely vulnerable. He was the kind of guy who made jokes before anyone could see him struggle. Tonight, though, that mask was gone. His voice broke slightly as he whispered, "Do you have any idea how hard it's been? Sitting next to you all these years, laughing, talking, pretending I'm fine, when all I wanted was more. I was terrified that if I told you, I'd lose you forever." His words hit me like a punch. I'd never thought about what it felt like for him, holding that truth inside for years. "How long have you felt this way?" I asked quietly. He let out a small, bitter laugh. "Honestly, I'm not sure, maybe since high school, but I didn't admit it to myself until after college. Every time you came over, every time you smiled at me like that, it got harder to hide." My stomach twisted because deep down, part of me had thought about it too, in late-night moments I'd never dared to name. The way he'd sling his arm over my shoulder and leave it there just a little too long. The way his laughter filled a room and somehow felt like it belonged only to me. I'd buried those thoughts, told myself it was impossible. He was my best friend. We didn't cross that line. But now I realized he'd been standing on it for years. I don't even know why I did it, maybe instinct, but I reached out and placed my hand on his. His fingers twitched beneath mine, unsure whether to pull away. "I don't want to lose you," I whispered. His eyes lifted to meet mine, and for the first time that night there was a flicker of hope. "You won't," he murmured. The touch lingered longer than it should have, and something electric passed between us. Not just friendship, something deeper, real. But then fear crashed over me like cold water. What if I led him on? What if I wasn't ready? What if this ruined everything we'd built? I pulled my hand back, trying to breathe. "Daniel, I just don't know what this means for me. I've never." I trailed off, lost for words. He nodded slowly, understanding. "You don't have to figure it out tonight," he said softly. "I just need time," I whispered. "I get it," he replied quickly. "I shouldn't have dropped this on you like a bomb." But even as he said it, I saw the relief in his eyes. The secret was finally out. And even though I wasn't ready to say the words back, I hadn't run. We sat there for hours, drifting between heavy silences and awkward jokes, both pretending things were still normal. Every laugh felt different now. Every glance carried weight. At one point, Daniel put on a random action movie, one we'd seen a dozen times, but neither of us really watched. My mind just kept replaying his confession. When I finally stood to leave, it was past midnight. Daniel walked me to the door, hands shoved deep in his pockets. For a moment, we just stood there under the dim hallway light. "Thanks for coming," he said quietly. "Always," I replied and meant it. His eyes searched mine, as if hoping for something, but I didn't have the words yet. "Not tonight." I gave him a small, shaky smile. "Good night, Daniel." "Good night," he murmured. As I stepped into the cool night air, I knew one thing for certain: nothing between us would ever be the same. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my thoughts spinning. My best friend, the person I trusted most, had just confessed he was in love with me. And the scariest part wasn't that he'd said it. It was realizing that deep down, I wasn't sure I didn't feel the same. Previously, Daniel, my best friend for nearly a decade, had revealed the secret he'd carried for years. "I'm in love with you." I told him I needed time. But as I left his apartment that night, one thought echoed again and again. What if I did feel the same, and I'd just been too afraid to see it? The next few days stretched endlessly. Normally, Daniel and I texted all the time, memes, inside jokes, random updates. But after that night, the silence was deafening. At first, I thought I should give him space. Then I wondered if he was giving me space. Either way, the quiet felt unbearable. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped, only to sink when it wasn't him. At night, I replayed everything in my mind: his trembling voice, the look in his eyes, the weight of his words. Part of me was terrified to risk the one friendship that had always been my anchor. But another part whispered, what if he's been the one all along? By the end of the week, I couldn't take the silence anymore. I was about to text him, but before I could, fate stepped in. It was Saturday afternoon, and I stopped by the small cafe near our old high school. As I walked in, my heart dropped. After years of laughter, trust, and secrets shared between us, he looked me in the eyes and said words I never expected. "I'm in love with you." In that moment, my whole world tilted. Silence wrapped around us like a heavy blanket. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the muted buzz of traffic outside, even my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Daniel's face was tense, his hands clenched together as if holding on for dear life. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. Finally, he let out a shaky breath. "See, this is why I didn't tell you. You don't feel the same, do you?" "No," I said quickly, my voice sharper than I intended. "That's not it." Surprise flickered across his face. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to gather my thoughts. "It's just, I wasn't expecting this. You're my best friend, Daniel. You've always been my best friend. He nodded slowly, jaw tight. I know, maybe I should have kept it that way, but I can't pretend anymore. I'd seen Daniel in every mood over the years, angry, goofy, bored, ecstatic, but rarely vulnerable. He was the guy who'd make a joke at his own expense before letting anyone see him sweat. Yet tonight, that armor was gone. His voice was quiet, almost breaking. Do you have any idea how hard it's been? He whispered. To sit next to you all these years, laughing at stupid memes, talking about life, feeling like I want more, and knowing I couldn't say it because I was terrified you pull away. The weight in his words hit me like a punch. I had never thought about it from his side, never considered that every smile, every moment of closeness, might have meant more to him than I realized. I swallowed hard. How long have you felt this way? He let out a small, bitter laugh. Honestly, I don't even know, since high school, maybe earlier. But I didn't let myself admit it until after college. Every time you came over, every time you smiled at me, it just got harder to keep it in. My stomach twisted. Part of me had thought about it late at night, replaying our moments together. The way he'd sling his arm around my shoulder, holding it a second too long, or the way his laugh lit up a room but somehow felt like it belonged just to me. I'd buried those thoughts, pushed them away as impossible. He was my best friend. We didn't cross that line. And now he was telling me he'd been standing on it for years. I don't know what made me do it, instinct maybe, but I reached out and laid my hand on his. His fingers twitched under mine, unsure if he should pull away. I don't want to lose you, I said softly. For the first time that night, Daniel's eyes met mine. A glimmer of hope shone there. You won't, he whispered. The touch lingered longer than it should have. In that moment, something electric passed between us, not just friendship, something deeper, raw, harder to deny. But doubt crashed in like cold water. My mind spiraled. What if I lead him on? What if I'm not ready? What if this ruins everything we've built? I pulled back slightly, needing air. Daniel, I don't know what this means for me. I trailed off, struggling to find words. He nodded slowly, his face falling but understanding. You don't have to figure it out tonight. I need time, I said. I get it, he replied quickly. I shouldn't have dropped this on you like a bomb. But even as he said it, I could see the relief in his eyes. The secret was out. And even if I wasn't ready to say the words back, I hadn't run. We sat for hours, drifting between heavy silences and awkward jokes. Neither of us knew how to go back to normal. Every laugh felt tinged with something new. Every glance carried unspoken weight. At one point, Daniel put on a random action movie, but neither of us paid attention. My mind was too busy replaying his confession over and over. When I finally stood to leave, the clock read past midnight. Daniel walked me to the door, hands shoved deep in his pockets. For a long moment, we just stood there, facing each other in the dim hallway light. Thanks for coming, he said quietly. Always, I said. Because it was true, he whispered, his eyes searching mine as if waiting for something, anything, that might tell him where we stood. I didn't have the words yet. Not tonight. I gave a small, shaky smile. Good night, Daniel. Good night, he murmured. As I stepped into the cool night air, I knew one thing for certain. Nothing between us would ever be the same. That night, lying in bed, my mind raced. My best friend, my other half, had just confessed he was in love with me. And the terrifying part wasn't that he said it. It was that deep down, I wasn't sure I didn't feel the same. He'd lit a candle, something subtle, maybe sandalwood, and its soft glow flickered across the walls. We settled on the couch, the same spot where everything had shifted before. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, I took a deep breath. Daniel, I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about us. His shoulders tensed, but his eyes stayed on mine. Okay, I fidgeted with the hem of my hoodie, nerves buzzing through me. At first, I didn't know what to do with it. You're my best friend. The thought of losing that scared me more than anything. I get it, he said softly. But the more I thought about it, I continued, the more I realized I don't want to just be your best friend anymore. I don't want to pretend I don't feel the same. His breath caught. You mean that? I nodded, my heart racing. Yeah, I think I've felt it for a long time. I just didn't let myself see it. He stared at me for a long moment, processing my words. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face, one of those rare, unguarded smiles that reached his eyes. I can't believe this is real, he whispered. Me neither, I admitted. And then it happened. He leaned in, hesitating just long enough for me to meet him halfway. Our lips touched in the softest, most tentative kiss, careful like we were afraid to break the moment. But when I felt his warmth against mine, the world seemed to fade away. It wasn't fireworks or chaos. It was quiet, steady, like finding something I didn't even know I'd been missing. When we pulled back, I laughed, half from nerves, half from relief. What? He asked, grinning. I just can't believe we waited this long. After that night, things didn't magically become perfect. We were still figuring it out. When to text, how much space to give each other, how to move from friends to something more without losing the foundation we'd built. But it felt right. We started going on real dates, though we joked that everything we'd done together before could have counted as one. Dinner at the little taco place downtown. Long walks through the park where we used to ride bikes as kids. Movie nights that ended with us tangled on the couch, the film forgotten. Of course, there were moments of uncertainty, times I worried we were moving too fast, or when Daniel wondered if I might wake up one day and regret it. But every time we talked through it, honestly and patiently. That was the thing about being best friends first. We already knew how to communicate, how to listen, how to show up for each other. Now, we just added love to the equation. A few months later, we decided to go to a local LGBTQ+ community night at a bar downtown. On paper, it was just a trivia night, neon lights, cheap drinks. But for me, it felt huge. For the first time, I wasn't going with Daniel as just a friend. I was going with him as my boyfriend. When he reached for my hand as we walked in, my heart skipped, not from fear but from joy. We didn't need to hide. We didn't need to downplay it. That night, surrounded by laughter, rainbow flags, and the hum of music, I realized how far we'd come. From secrets and silence to this simple, fearless act of being together. Weeks turned into months, each day bringing new layers to our love. Some nights we stayed up late dreaming about the future, places to travel, an apartment we might share someday, the dog we might adopt. One evening, we sat on his balcony watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Daniel turned to me, I said. You know, he said softly, when I confessed to you that night I was ready to lose everything. I thought you'd walk away. I squeezed his hand. I almost did, not because I didn't feel it, but because I was scared. He smiled, resting his head close to mine. And now I'm not scared at all because I know the answer. What's the answer? I whispered, heart full. I love you too, I said. In the end, it wasn't one single moment that changed everything. It was every laugh, every late-night talk, every quiet glance we shared that led us here. My best friend had invited me over that night and confessed his love. And maybe, just maybe, I'd been waiting to confess too. Together, we found the kind of love that had been right in front of us all along.